through other predictions and pick your genius brain here. I mean, folks, I only give credit where it's due. This guy's a top trends forecaster, and Bob's great as well at the economics, but a generalist here with Gerald Celente, who just researches constantly. It seems like they're pushing us towards rebellion, or is it just they don't care, they're all busy stealing, so they don't care if they raise hundreds of new taxes and just bankrupt everyone? I mean, where is that going?
Well, they don't care. Look at the lives that they live. You know, I began my career at a graduate school. I was involved with the mayoral campaign in Yonkers, New York, and then in Westchester politics as a campaign strategist. And then they sent me up to Albany. You know, Albany is making the news now. And I was the assistant to the secretary of the New York State Senate. Alex, it was the worst job I ever had in my life. And I had some lousy jobs as a young guy, as many of us did. And what it would be is I'd be standing in the back of the chambers with my pal chit-chatting about this or that, the young guy in my 20s. And all of a sudden a senator would walk in. And my pal would follow the senator like a little puppy dog and help pull out the chair to help him sit down. And my friend would come back and I'd say, hey, what's the matter? The cat can't sit down by himself. He needs some help. The point being, all it was watching grown men grovel. And the way these politicians live, yeah, there's going to be off with your heads, because these are the kings and the queens and the noblemen of the 21st century. They don't have a clue on how the rest of the people live. They're so far removed from it. Look at the arrogance. Did you see that Charlie Rangel try to wrangle his way out of being a high-pressure, high-power thief on TV? Who would believe this stuff? Listen, Alex, I grew up in the Bronx. I used to go to Coney Island and Palisades Amusement Park. I know what a freak show looks like. It's a freak show. And that's who these people are. They have no concern about any of us. The only thing they're concerned about is maintaining their power and stealing as much as they can. And this is another important note. Politicians get paid off very cheaply. Doesn't take a lot to buy these guys out. All they're doing is looking for the safe bet and a cushy life where they'll never have to work again in their lives or get their fingernails dirty.
Absolutely. Now, again, 3 years ago, I was reading the Journal, and you were talking about rebellions. Tax rebellions is the term you specifically used, and that's the main basis of the Tea Party that's bipartisan. The Republicans have tried to take it over, but that's not really being successful. Now, Obama created separately the Coffee Party to love and worship the government. Turns out he's covertly running that. So they're trying to take these over, but I don't see that working. So now going forward, how do you see the rebellions against government peacefully unfolding? And do you see people violently lashing out?
It's up in the air, because you were mentioning before about these false flags and staged events. Where, you know, from Remember the Maine to the Gulf of Tonkin incident that never happened, to who knows what else. So they can use something to rally the people around the government again. On my way down to Buenos Aires, I took a journal that I write in every day, that I began writing right after that I had written when 9/11 happened. And the quotes in there are amazing to relive. You know, 92% of the people were in favor of the United States bombing Afghanistan. Days after 9/11, Tony Blair came to the United States, and my note was he's continually hitting on Iraq. And then the same day that he's there, for 3 days following, the United States and the UK were carpet bombing Iraq. So you look back at this, you saw how unpopular Bush was before 9/11, and then you see his popularity mushrooming after that. The same kind of thing could happen now. One of the areas of war that I didn't mention that we're most concerned concerned with as well is what's going on in Pakistan. The United States is fighting a proxy war there using the Pakistani army. The Obama, this great Nobel Peace Prize winner, I guess Norway is Orwell spelled backwards. He has been sending more Predator drones, as you well know, into Pakistan, 3 times as many than Bush did during his last year in office. Thousands of innocent people are being killed. There are over 200,000 Pakistanis living in the United States. Now, with weapons of mass destruction available, with the black market being wide open, with the availability of biological warfare, you don't need to be a member of an organized terrorist group. You could just have maybe, let's call it, as old as the Old Testament, an eye for an eye. Suppose your family is from South Waziristan or North Waziristan or the Swat Valley and a victim of America's war. You think you want to get even big time? Those are the kind of things we're looking for. The United States will then use that, as they have used it before, to then rape us of our rights, clamp down harder on us, and all of those sheeple that are looking for leaders will fall in line and follow the government wherever it takes them. Those are the concerns we have that will derail the revolution.
Absolutely, Gerald Celente, because in many cases they don't have to stage a classic false flag. If they attack a country, they're going to be real people that come after them. You talk about World War I, Germany was clearly the one that was set up in that. Then, directly out of World War I came Adolf Hitler, who was a really bad guy and did do horrible things. And it now has been declassified that the British were so smart that in the 1920s, Lord Milner's group and others said, we're going to pressure Germany, they're going to get a corrupt war leader in, we'll fund them, and then we'll destroy Europe again. I mean, these guys are smart.
Well, they're shrewd. I wouldn't use the word smart. I would say they're shrewd. They're sociopaths. They're sick people. And that's the only kind of people that do these things. Look what's going on now. You mentioned Germany. All of a sudden, I mean, what did people forget World War II? Now Germany's sending more troops into Afghanistan? What's going on over
And
here?
Germany openly runs the EU and is now the 3rd biggest arms producer in the world, just like they secretly rearmed before World War II, and they're calling the shots in the EU on Greece and everything else.
Exactly. And what does everybody have attention deficit disorder? This is World War II we're talking about. It wasn't that long ago. And now the Germans they're marching in Afghanistan. Where will they march to next?
Well, we know the British are Germanic, and they're always setting up world empires. And when Germany started rising, the British started World War I with them. And it's a fact. The British want to rule the world, the government does, and the Germans do. And it's come out in the Club of Rome documents. It's come out in their treaties in Bilderberg that now it's global EU takeover through the banking system. And this new Bank of the World, Gordon Brown and others are talking about, they admit we're bankrupting the planet, then we're going to offer you the solution of the banks based in Europe running the planet. And they're saying, they have the Democratic leader of the Senate say 2 days ago, get ready for what's happening in Greece here, and we've got to give our infrastructure to the banks. So just like we're a third world country, they're talking about taking our islands like they're doing Greece right now. I mean, will the people put up with this? Can Homeland Security keep enough of a clamp down on people to get away with this?
I don't think Homeland Security can do it. But what they will do is they'll use the police state tactics that they did, for example, at the G20 meeting in Pittsburgh, where they called basically martial law, which is, of course, against the Constitution. But look at those photos of what happened. You had more police there dressed up with enough body armor to walk through the Battle of the Bulge unscathed.